Hello and welcome to the Future Product webinar hosted by Eficode. Today we will be talking about building quality into product development. Here is our agenda for today. As I said, we will be talking about how to build a product quality into the organization and into the ways of working. And we're going to be presenting the big picture of building quality. We're going to be talking about some practical approaches to it as well. So again, welcome. My name is Pinja Kujala. I'm an Agile and product management coach here at Eficode.
Okay, and hello from my behalf also. I'm Henri Hämäläinen, heading the advisory and coaching unit, and a coach myself, also working quite a lot with different kind of companies, also related to quality matters. So that's why we're here, and welcome everyone to the session. Let's start with the statement. Testing can only reveal bugs that exist. And the thinking behind this is that in order for actually the organizational functions to find something, it needs to be there. And then for a customer, it doesn't matter if it has been built or not. It's still something that they think about as a quality issue. So even something that hasn't ever been built or hasn't even been thought of can be a quality issue for the customer or user. And I think that starts kind of our journey and our discussion today about what really quality is all about and how you can actually then work on product quality issues, because it's not only about bugs, it's much more, as we will discuss during the session. So let's start with the statement of what is quality. And this is one sentence we with Pinja tried to capture the most important aspects of quality is that how the degree of which product satisfies the stated and expected needs of its stakeholders, meaning that it's really about how the people using, how the people who are affected by the product or service actually see the product. And I think this has two things: the stated and expected needs, the actual kind of things that we've stated that, hey, this is how the product or service works, but also the expectations from the user or persona related to the service, that what they expect it to work, even though it wouldn't have ever been built there. And this brings us to this whole product thinking. If you've been part of our webinars before, I've discussed this earlier also, but I think this relates quite well to the quality also, because companies normally see this core product, especially if you're in a software development. You see really this core product because you're working with it every day. You're kind of building the product from your perspective and seeing it every day. But for customer, there is this expected product. They have a different view to the product or service. So they actually expect something from the product, no matter what the core product really is. And then that kind of goes even further to this augmented product, meaning how the product is sold, how you get support for it, what's the brand looking like everything related to the product, all the way to the salesperson. If you're in a store, how the salesperson work with you on this, or what type of adverts there are out there. So the augmented product is so much more than just the core product. And I think this is part of the whole challenge. What we will discuss today is about what really is the quality of product, how you can build the quality of product. One thing still on this same topic, looking from a different angle, trying to explain a bit more, is this interaction architecture. This is again a picture you might have seen if you've been in some of our previous webinars. Here, what this tries to state is that there are different type of customer interaction like points to the product. If the product is here, you can actually digitally interact with the product, but you might interact with the customer support, or you might interact with the website of the thing, or it might have a mobile client for the product, or mobile website for the product, or you might have a store for it, or there's a sales representative whom you work with with the product as the customer sees the product. And then the below here, we won't go into very details of this, but it just tries to explain that how it actually then for the company, you need to actually build it from these pieces, the whole like quality aspect for the customer.
Henri, how would you apply this into the real life? Could you give us an example of how this would work in real life, this kind of architecture for interactions?
Yeah, my mind comes, maybe it's not a perfect example, but let's use it in any case. It's like a bank nowadays. You actually have I don't even know what the bank of these would actually be, but in one sense, you have the bank where your money or investments or stocks or loans are. It's not a product, but the money is there, right? So it's somewhere really in there. But then you might interact with the bank with your mobile client. You might interact with the bank from web, like browser base. You might actually go to the bank, like the store here might be the actual like visiting the bank. Then you might use the customer support, like call to the bank. There might be like a separate ways to interact with the bank, or then you might have a call from them, or you might meet the bank somewhere else. So there are these different, and this was about bank fully, but the same could go with the like a smaller part of the bank. If you would think like loan would include all of these. You would need to sign in stuff using mobile. You would need to, and there's even the physical world of loans. There might be still some papers you would need to sign in and stuff like that. So in very, very many products nowadays, there are these like different interaction layers that you need to work with. And maybe I'll just give a very short example of, I think most of you have used or know Spotify. Like nowadays, even Spotify doesn't have these physical interaction layers like meeting the persons that much. You can use it from the watch, or you can use it from mobile, you can use it from car, you can use it from some devices, you can use it from like via headphones directly. And so there's so many different type of interaction layers, and all of these affect to the customer experience, meaning that the quality needs to be checked from all of these different aspects. So does that make sense?
At least I'm nodding.
Good. We don't see the audience, but good. Hope that explains something also there. So I'll hand it over to you, Pinja.
Thanks. So now that Henri was going on this topic, what is a product, and what kind of elements and what kind of dimensions can we think when we think of a product? So now into why does the quality of the product actually matter? So it's not just that we think, for example, if we were the ones developing a product, that we see that there are no bugs. Henri already covered that is only you can only find the bugs that are already there when you do testing, right? But from the customer perspective, and now reflecting back to the interaction architecture of interactions, the layers that Henri was showing before, that the statistics are supporting us with these claims. For example, the ones in the upper row there on behind with the gray background here, we have now collected information here from various statistical sources here that what are the, for example, business benefits of creating a good customer experience and creating the quality for the customers. And even more specifically, when we go into the ones that are on the yellow background here, what are the customer experience effects on retention of customers? Of course, that is, again, business benefit, right? but more specifically, why do customers come back to certain products and certain companies? Because they're more likely to repeat the purchase and that customer interaction when they experience that good quality. And as high as, for example, 93% are more likely to repeat that purchase.
And I have to state this, like investing in new customers is like 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining the existing ones. So kind of these are these like hidden costs of quality that like no one really thinks of. Like if you lose a customer, you need to acquire a new one. It's like 5 to 25 times more to get a new customer than kind of retaining the existing one, which is huge.
And quite often that losing the customer might not even be that visible for the company. So it's actually using that much more resources for gaining more new customers is actually quite significant. But what if we talk about a little bit more in depth about the benefits of quality? These are not the only ones, the benefits of building quality into product organizations. But for example, it's not just the customer aspects, it's also here as well, the greater customer satisfaction. But it also builds into the satisfaction of the organization. For example, increased staff motivation and morale. It's gonna lead to higher profitability with lower costs when we're building the right stuff the right way. Risk reduction, protecting the brand. So it's not just the customer aspect. Is a very holistic way of actually benefiting as an organization from doing the right things the right way.
Yeah.
Reducing waste.
Especially like these three, like it has a very high effect on like staff motivation overall, or people motivation, that like if they are only fixing bugs and always firefighting on quality issues rather than they could actually concentrate on creating something new, it has a very high impact on that one. And then the second thing is this like reducing waste and increasing efficiencies, that like with the time you've spent fixing some bugs, that if you could use that time to actually doing something for the customers, it has like a double effect on the efficiency. So I think it is very, very important. I think many understand, but still these are something that like you at least we've seen in some of our previous cases that, hey, still it's not taken seriously, the quality. It's like, let's put something out there and see how it works, rather than really building the quality from the start.
Because it can be a very subjective issue for the users of the product, and it cannot be, I cannot predict, for example, how Henri sees the quality of a certain product, because he might have some different ways of using it. And if, for example, I'm working in a product organization, I might not see every single thing that our customer is using or is experiencing with the product. So is not just the actual quality, meaning like, do we find the box, is it stable, these kind of things, but also the experience quality.
Yeah, and I might add to your thoughts there is that quite often the customer actually knows the competition much better than you yourself. They actually have the experiences from other customers more often than the ones who are actually creating the product. So it kind of sets a different type of baseline to the things. So, but I think I hope this kind of raises up the this discussion and thoughts of overall on this.
And I might actually notify, there's a comment here that these benefits are not always understood when we implement IT systems for own use as well.
That is very good comment, and also very, very true. And I think it has a even higher effect on the kind of a motivation and morale if the internal systems are not working well. I think it's there has been this like employee what's the term, employee satisfaction, employee experience, that's the word I'm looking for. I think that has been in talks for some years now, and I think it really has a high effect on efficiency overall, how the people feel on internal things. So.
Yeah, and especially that has, during the past couple of years, it has become even more concentrated on developer experience, right? So it is not only just the experience of everybody in the company, but how the developers are are experiencing their work, do they find it meaningful, how to create that higher satisfaction among the developers, because that is in correlation, of course, with the quality of the end product.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so like we've now looked from customers' perspective and also the business benefits perspective, the product quality. But like if it really looks one angle more, which is like building up the product and why it is actually so difficult also from that perspective, or so maybe difficult is the wrong word, but it needs to be thought well through. Is that I've used this metaphor of like complexity of software, which there could be product development. It could have also the hardware there, but especially the software development is similar to building a city, meaning that like it's not first of all building a house. Building a house is much more simpler than building a city. And why this building a city is a good metaphor is that like you actually need to think other things than just this one house or one building there. You need to think about everything else, like plumbing or like transportation or traffic and all the other aspects of it, rather than just the one building. And as an example, like if you're planning a street somewhere in a city, of course, if you just kind of plan it for one car, it works perfectly, right? There's no traffic. But hey, then you need to actually take into account like there's separate parts of the city that might actually kind of all jump into the cars at the same time or jump into the buses at the same time, which actually creates traffic somewhere. So it's like much more complex than just building one building there. You need to think about so much more, and you need to renew things. Like if we create few new buildings here, we need to actually do the transportation differently, and there need to be parking places, there needs to be store, there needs to be school, there needs to be something like that. So that's the reason I tend to use this one, and this again connects back to the quality of things. So you need to think the like again, even though the traffic jam isn't like a bug as such, but it is a poor quality. In it's experienced as a poor quality, and you would need to, even though like everything works as planned, it's still thought as a poor quality.
It is not working.
It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working for the end users, aka the people who are actually in that traffic at that moment.
Yeah, and you can like think about the examples nowadays. Like everyone has these examples of trying to call basically any service provider. You take banks, you take insurance companies. There's basically no service that you could actually reach by phone, which is ridiculous. But still, like now it's like the baseline has been set to so low that like everyone gets to go with that one. But if someone would actually fix that, then I guess the others would need to fix it also. So that's the thing. But that kind of tries to explain more about like why this is important to understand, that building up the a city is a good metaphor to think also when you're building the products.
There's a comment in the Q&A box right now that bug is everything that lowers the value equals quality, and that leads to traffic jam is a bug. But perhaps it is about the thinking that as you said, Henri, you had the first thing, the very first phrase that you had in this presentation. If you would you go back to that thinking about the bugs and
yeah, that if it's like it cannot be a bug if it's not existing, in a way that like if it's working as planned, it's still. But I do see what they are saying, but like it's not as an easy bug to fix, even though it can be a bug. But like in my mind, bug is pointing to somewhere. There's an error there but with a bug, with the kind of a quality issue, you cannot actually state that, hey, there's a bug there, because everything works as planned, but it's still bad quality. But I do see where the comment is coming from. Yeah.
And it's about that whole thinking that has been, I guess, going around for many years now. Is this a bug or is this a feature? Again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the end result is, it doesn't matter. It's still seen as a bad quality.
Exactly.
Yep. Good. Another point to this thing is productivity in software product development. Is quite often, or too often, it's only seen as that the product value divided by the activities to create the next solution. But actually, there is this effect to the next solutions that should be taken into account when thinking about productivity. And productivity is now related to the internal quality of things. And I'm not going to go into the very details of everything of these, but just to kind of think about the quality, internal quality, like reusability of the solution, effect to release, how much depth you create, what the capabilities and competencies you create inside the organization. So based on this, we kind of did this thinking that actually productivity could be thought as like an external quality plus the internal quality, then divided by the process quality. Like it was something we came up with Pinja some time ago, that hey, maybe these actually relate also to the quality aspects of things. So if you can think about productivity from this perspective, maybe this helps to really like highlight the importance of the building up the quality also internally.
And it's not just, for example, this, to me, this connects the building the quality more to the whole product organization level and everything, that kind of the business side of things, and not just, for example, to the customer, but how effective, how efficient is the product organization in doing their things. Because when we're doing the wrong things, we're again going back to what was said before, that time and those efforts and those resources could have been used to do something else, the right things.
Yep. Exactly like that. Great. Then we've come up with this big picture of building quality, like trying to create understanding and insight on what could you do in an organization to build up all of these quality aspects that we've been talking about. So there's these 7 things: requirement quality, feedback, small frequent deliveries, technical quality, automation, experience quality, and process quality. And there's few examples of all of these that you could kind of start to focus. We've actually used this one as a tool for organizations to find out like where they are good on these aspects, and where they have like some improvement needs. But I think all in all, it starts in a requirement quality, like the topmost, answering the why. That's always very important. Like, does all the requirements inside the organization actually answer why we are doing? Do you understand the customer needs? And then do you actually discuss those inside the company? It's not something that like I just send a mail to Pinja that do this, and then I expect it to happen. I expect there to be a discussion. Mm-hmm. I think that's the way it should always go.
It requires the understanding of the problem that needs to be solved, not giving the what, but rather giving the why. Why do we need this? And as it says here, the customer understanding is really crucial. That what is the problem that the customer needs to be solved by something in this system, in this product.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And I just want to highlight once again, like I don't think it ever should be so that I can type everything to you, or that would be like too big of a job, and I'm not sure whether it's even possible. That I think I would always expect us to have a small discussion about the why also and customer understanding. Okay, then like feedback. We've been talking about this one quite a lot already, but the whole point is the customer review. Kind of try to get feedback from the customer, try to see the world from different angles. It's like you normally use or think about your product every day, but the customer might think about it once a month or once a week or something. That's so different, and they might use it in a different type of scenario. That those might even use it like you use your product with like a 4K display, and then your customer is using with a small laptop. So it's going to be totally different experience overall. So that's the reason like this feedback is always very important. And related to feedback is this small frequent deliveries, that like how you can actually deliver at least this next level of things in small enough pieces, so you get always a feedback that, hey, have we done the right thing? And it doesn't need to go always to the end and to everyone, but at least to get some feedback of what you've been doing from the next level of in the value chain. Good. Then technical quality. We discussed a bit about it already, but I think this is very important, especially now that many software companies are kind of growing old, which I mean that they've been existing 10, 20 years, some even like there's one customer I've worked with which has done software with 48 years of software. So you can imagine that, hey, these things, reusability, simplicity, suitability isn't there, like because they're so old code, some of these things. But like technical quality should be something that you would always and constantly focus, because it does affect on the how do you build the quality into the organization. Okay, related to small frequent deliveries, automation, kind of preventing manual work, getting feedback from automation. I think that's quite obvious. We talk about it a bit today still, so let's go forward. And then experienced quality. Now this kind of was discussed a bit already, but it is important to understand the physical experiences also. Maybe 10-15 years ago there was lots of these like unboxing videos. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I feel that it still has a huge effect on how do you take something into use. So as an example of physical experiences with many products. So overall, use your products, buy your products, ask and from others how the brand is seen, because it has a high effect on the quality. And then last but not least is this process quality of like how do you create right amount of standardization, because the other way is that you create so many standards that no one follows, so then it becomes meaningless. So how do you create standards that are actually meaningful and everybody follows? And then this continuous learning from the past is of course something we emphasize. Anything, Pinja, to add, or did I forget to mention something?
No, I think there was a very, very holistic round of these things here. My key takeaway from this picture here is exactly that it is not just, as we have discussed already, is not just one thing. It is not just quote marks the technical quality of things. It is not just that we gather the feedback. It is not just the automation, but there are so many different factors that provide quality into the organization that should be taken into consideration.
Yes, definitely. All right, so we always wanna try to get to some practical approaches that like we wouldn't only talk about ideologies, even though it is very important to understand the ideology and thinking behind all of these. But then on the other hand, you need to have some ways to actually take these into action, because otherwise it's just like this like ideological thinking that actually doesn't benefit anyone. And I think that the first, there's three practical approaches which this like working in like practically working UX and CX in three different levels is something that I think is a good example of this. That like we'll come soon to that one, but like you cannot only work in the customer experience high level, but you need to also work in the low level. Then we have this three silver bullets of Agile, and everybody who has been like reading about Agile a long time, they will claim that there are no silver bullets, but we claim there are three, that if you really shoot all of these, you get the kill the bear wolf. But then as a final one, also we've seen so many times that hey, these benefits of automation hasn't really been taken into use. So we'll talk about those ones a bit soon also. Good. And of course, like we don't mean these are the only ones. We just wanted to bring you something to get away from, like get from this session that, hey, maybe that's something we should try on our organization directly. But we'll go to
something to anchor, as Henri mentioned, the ideology behind this.
Yes, exactly. So we'll go to these three through a bit more detail. So working UX and CX at three levels. I think this UX and CX was for a very long time something that I couldn't really like simplify in my mind, because it has so many different levels. And finally, this isn't mine, neither Pinja's like own slide, but it's the other Eficode experts who have done this. But I really loved when I saw this is that like there's three different levels of customer experience and user experience work. One is this product design, like really the service promise, the blueprints, and kind of what's the high level concept. It's next to the product vision. It should really work with the product vision of like how do we want. And I think it kind of enlarges the product vision a bit, because it looks it from the customer's perspective only, basically this product design. Then you have the actual customer experience, like the user flows in the software or product, how different things work together, and is the colors correct, and does it feel what it should feel like? That type of customer experience, fonts and all of those has a very huge effect on how do you feel with the product. And then there's the actual user interface work, which is it's really there's like an atomical level of interactions of different views and what happens. Like I really one highlight of my career was that when it was maybe, I don't recall anymore exactly, but maybe 16, 17 years ago, we actually had this high-speed camera, which we used to track a mobile device to understand what happens under the finger and how, like, because that's something you cannot see yourself, but you can still feel that does it work as it's supposed to. So it's really like atomical level of how things work on there. And then taking this to the time scales, these have a different time scales. Like it's more strategic, like it's annual, maybe annually. It doesn't need to be exactly annually, but it's like something you come back to once in a while on this product design and make sure that it's always like looking ahead. Then you have this tactical level of things like how the user interaction that might like in an iterative world that might look like 3 months ahead, this tactical level of customer experience. And then you have the operative user interface level, which is like a sprint level. I think this explains it bit better, that like this is something that every organization should have. They should have this clock cycle to follow. This is the level we are working on with these different UX and CX work.
And what I might highlight from this, the CX and UX dimension here, is that as Henri said before, for example, for the product design, it should be seen as part of or an extension for the product strategy as well. These are not separate things. They need to interact. They need to be part of that same discussion and that same thinking. When we're talking about product design, it is not just a separate track over there with the designers talking here and the development side talking here. And the same goes with the tactical dimension and the operative dimension here as well. So not to separate these things, because in the end, and now referring back to the big picture of product quality again, the big whys, why is this being done? And if the customer is not being taken into consideration, and now reflecting back to the efficiency of product organization, you're going to be doing the wrong things.
Yeah, excellent. And like this is really summing up well what I was trying to really state. So thanks a lot. I think that's exactly the point, that hey, you need to be able to work together on these. It's not something that any part of the organization should be doing on themselves.
Exactly. So if we talk about the 3 silver bullets of Agile, as Henri mentioned, that it has been a long discussion that there are no silver bullets. You cannot take any shortcuts. But mastering these 3 ones, the backlog refinement, definition of ready, definition of done, these will get the organization quite close to actually doing the things in the right way. So we're talking about the backlog refinement, so that the backlog is in good order. It has the right things. It has been prioritized according to the strategy and the guidance from the North Star. That is, for example, the product strategy with that customer experience kept in mind. There are things that are ready for the development team to start working on. There are no. My horror stories are from seeing the backlogs that have 150 items for one team. Some of them I always called like the deep sea level mud, because it's been pressed down so hard. It has not been revisited in a year or 2 years. And this is unfortunately an actual example from an organization that I worked with a couple of months ago, that they had product backlog item tickets from a year and a half before. It is very hard to create quality when you do not know what is up there. But keeping that very top of the backlog prioritized in good order and refined. Going into definition of ready.
Maybe if I've been just shortly give an example, this is like my personal mistake when I used to be a product owner a long time ago. I once actually calculated that, hey, with the like normal speed that we've been doing things, it would take almost 10 years to complete the backlog, which was kind of exactly what you were saying, that, hey, it doesn't make sense to have those in a backlog. So it's exactly what you said.
No, because things are going to change even during the next couple of months. You cannot have things refined. That is just a waste of time when you have things that you refine for the next 2 months, for example. But as tools to what can the teams use? There is definition of ready, which is an agreement between the team and the product owner. What is ready enough to be started work, to be worked with? It can be in a sprint. It can be in a Scrum team when, for example, starting with a 2-week sprint. It can be with the team that is using Kanban, but there are clear criteria and an agreement. What is good enough? Is there the definition? Is there for example, the customer customer problem to be solved? What is the context? Has this been discussed with these many people? Do we have the estimate? Do we have acceptance criteria? These kind of things, because these are the things that cannot, or I'm going to backtrack a little bit. They can be defined at later stages, but that is going to slow down the work significantly.
Yeah, and create these quality issues. And I have to still add that it's not only on a team level, it's also on an epic level and all above. So.
Exactly. It's not just about the team stuff, but on a higher level, epics features for organizations as well. And the same goes for definition of done. What is actually done? What are the steps? These are generic things, for example, different from acceptance criteria, which are product backlog item specific, whether we're talking about epics, whether we're talking about actual user stories, but something that always require to be done for each and everything. Has it been tested? Has it been documented? Again, as I said, the kind of the icon on the slide kind of is trying to convey as well that it is, again, an agreement.
Yeah, exactly. And even though this looks very simple, we've seen it so many times that if you just focus on these, it really has an enormous effect on the quality, also on efficiency, but especially on the quality of things.
And what is highlighted there at the bottom of this slide, what we really, really want to emphasize, please be stubborn with these practices. As in meaning, and stubborn meaning that do not slip away from these, because these are the quality silver bullets of doing things in an agile manner. So somebody needs to be like basically raising their hand that no, we're actually not doing this. Let's go back. We're not, for example, a team doesn't accept things into their backlog, into their sprint without actually meeting the definition of ready.
Yeah, exactly. Really, like a simple stuff, but so powerful. So this needs to be in shape.
Yeah, and they're really easy to slip away from these.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, let automation work for your benefit. The main point is that there's enough creative work for us humans that we can leave the repetitive work for computers. As simple as that. So let's not use the creative capacity of our people to stuff that actually computers can do better. And then again, it has a huge effect on quality. People do more mistakes than computers. Of course, computers can do mistakes, but quite often those are human planned mistakes as such. But I think that's the sometimes it's as simple thing as this is. We've seen it not being properly understood, and actually we gathered this like a bare minimum for every product organization in automation part is that like, hey, of course you need to have a version control. Someone is now laughing that hey, we've had version control since like 1990s, but there are still companies that don't do these like properly, and which is funny, but hey, this is the very bare minimum. CI the same, it's been there around like 25 years or 30 years already, or even longer, but you need to have the automated tests. And now we talk about the unit test level and integration test level. You need to have code analysis, you need to have quality gates, meaning that hey, if there's something happening with these code analysis or automated tests, it's automatically taken away. No one can actually use it. So you have to have quality gates in CI. Again, like don't let people to do the like a versioning and deployment stuff, and use at least semi-automated environment creation. So put scripts there, like don't put anyone to click the things too much, because that's where you do mistakes, and those are seen as a quality issues then from your customer's perspective. So it's really the bare minimum. Monitoring everything, like again, so many things could have been fixed. Just last weekend there was one a web shop I was using which just didn't work. The first page worked, and then when I tried to order, it always failed. So and that was the same for 48 hours. So I tried for 2 days and it didn't work until Monday. Someone came to work and fixed it, which is like how much money they can lose with that type of stuff, where you should have like monitoring at place and alarms in place. So there are many companies who do these things still. Internally, like make sure you have these living documents and not like living and shared documentation that you can actually even share it to customers, some of the documentation, so it's up to date. So kind of use the systems that have been there for 15 years already for your benefit. And then this is the one that too many companies are still in quite low competence level, is this like understanding your customer product usage, like really knowing how much customers use which features they're using. So this is really something that, hey, we've been in internet world for so long and still we don't use it to actually know how our customers, and I don't now mean a single customer, you need a permission for that, but like overall, like how many times some feature have been used in our product. Hey, this is such a basic stuff, so you need to have it in place. These really will help to build up the quality overall to every product. Anything, Pinja, to add or ask?
No, I think this just to highlight the bare minimum level, as you said. These are the things, and these are the things that are not part of the creative work of product development, right? So I think it's very important to make that distinction again, that these are some things that can be and should be automated.
Exactly. Definitely. And like I said, there's so many levels above this already where you can go, but hey, this is really the bare minimum that should be there. But good. Hey, our key takeaways on building the quality to the organization. There's 3 things. One is that customer defines the quality, and I think that's the key thing to understand. You shouldn't argue within your organization if something is a bug or not. If many customers are saying that, hey, this isn't working as they expect, then they see it as a poor quality no matter what. Creating quality is complex. We've seen there's these different interaction layers, interaction places, and also then on the other hand, there's the like a technological architecture and product architecture makes it complex. So that kind of brings us back to the third one, which is that, hey, have these simple, repeatable practices that really reveal and make you concentrate on quality, like this attention management. Have like a constant attention to the quality, and that's the way to actually create the quality there, when you constantly have the attention to the quality. Any final words, Pinja, from you?
No, nothing perhaps to add to this. It is important to keep the customer in mind, not to separate the two. I'm going to use quote marks processes when we're talking about the product development and the customer CX and UX part. Please listen to that feedback that you are getting and utilize that. And as Henri mentioned, the attention management, use the feedback, whatever it is something that you're looking into the technical depth, for example. How is that being utilized? How is the customer experience and these things? But when these are fixed, it can be seen as these are very simple and repeatable practices.
Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those right now.
There is one that I'm going to read right away that just popped up. One problem is that the companies who have outsourced everything, including own understanding of modern software development and testing, does not see quality as discussed today. There must be more understanding in creating contracts, lead and manage the work, etc. Any tips to help in this?
My first tip on this is that you need to build some capabilities to be able to interact with the partners inside the company. I don't believe any company should be without some software competencies anymore inside the company. So you can't have an organization without at least someone to make sure that the like quality of things that whomever you are buying from is good, because we've seen many good examples, partners being used efficiently also, but in all of those cases you have someone like a key architect or someone inside the company. And then the second kind of a tip would be that maybe if you would kind of discuss it from the perspective of efficiency, that like, hey, if you don't build up the quality, that actually hurts your efficiency also. There was a question, or at least a comment about the legal parts of it, and that's a difficult one. I think that would require a separate session. I've worked with a couple of companies on like agile contracts and how to be able to create agile contracts, and it's not easy. The only way really to have agile contracts is to like have the risk on both sides. That's the only way to have it. You cannot only like, and having the risk on both sides means also that there's some like upside for the provider also, not only downside. If they don't do quality, then there's a downside, but there needs to be some upside. If they do a good quality, then they actually get something more. So it's not easy to create these contracts, but hey, I'm willing to have this discussion at some point with someone too.
Yeah, there's another question here. Any good examples of tools that help out in building those living documents?
Yeah, the kind of a best one, of course, lately, or let's at least say the most used ones, are in the Atlassian space. So using Confluence and some of its add-ons to be able to create like a living documentation. But then there is, I just can't recall the exact name, but there is this, what some of the bigger companies are using, that there's this like in a way snippet paste that you write some reusable documentation that then you put a lot of metadata there in, that then you can pick that piece of information and put it to different places like brochures and customer like documentation and documentation for maintenance and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I just don't remember the name of it, but there are these systems in place. So I think if you Google enough those, so you might find.
There are no other questions popping up at least right now on the Q&A.
All right. Hey, then we'll say thank you for everyone who listened and also the ones who were active on questions. So thanks a lot from my behalf, and hope to hear and hope you join the next webinars in 3 weeks.
Great. Thank you all.